Hello, everybody. How's it going, guys? It's been uh, it's been quite a day when it comes to my Wi-Fi situation. My Wi-Fi has been going in and out all day, and I even contemplated trying to reschedule this stream, but my Wi-Fi seems to be doing okay for right now. So I decided to go ahead and still try to do this stream anyway. But the first hint of trouble, I'm going to you know cut it off. But hopefully, I don't have to do that. Hey, Jonathan, how's it going, man? Glad you could make it. Like I said, I've had a difficult time with my Wi-Fi today. I had really considered to reschedule this stream for a later day, but because my Wi-Fi just kept going in and out all day, I've been unplugging and replugging in the router all day, and it didn't seem to work. It would stay on for a couple of minutes, and then um, it would go right back out again. But luckily, the internet seems to be doing okay right now, and it's been on. It's been steady for a while now, so I decided to go ahead and still try this. But like I said, the first sign of trouble, I'm going to end it. And as you guys can see, this is I think this is the second time that I've ever done a Halloween scary story stream. I think the first one that I ever did was about 2 years ago. And I don't have any stories in particular ready. I'm going to let you guys decide what we listen to tonight. And I've already got two potential scary story compilations in mind right now. They are from Mr. Nightmare, but I will wait and reveal that until I see if some more people are going to join. And John says it's going good. Had a good day at work today, so the day's been good. Well, that's good. I'm glad you've had a good day. I would have had a good day if the whole Wi-Fi situation hadn't messed me up. But like I said, it seems to be doing okay for now. So yeah, I don't know how long I'll be doing this stream for, but I will be doing it enough to get you know a couple of stories in anyway. Still, I'm just trying to wait to see if more people are going to come in and join. So far, there's only two people in here. I'm not going to start until more people get in here. Again, I'm not expecting a lot of people or anything, but I did tell quite a few people about this, and I announced that I was going to do this yesterday on my stream. And I understand some people may be delayed, you know, and whatever. Where is everyone? I know that's what I'm wondering. I did tell some people about this. And like I said, I announced that I was going to do this on my stream yesterday. See, now we have three people, so that's good. Oh, hey, man. And my best friend Tim is here. And you know what? If nobody else shows up within the next couple of minutes, then we'll just go ahead and get started. I've already been streaming for almost 10 minutes and I haven't done anything yet. I've already got uh, some stories lined up. Uh, they're from a YouTuber that I like called Mr. Nightmare. And I'll let you guys decide between two different compilations. So I'll let you guys decide between what are they? Four really creepy true Home Alone stories, or three true scary Walmart horror stories. I'll type it down in the comments. Those are your two options right now. Four scary Home Alone stories or three scary Walmart stories. Okay. Jonathan chooses Home Alone stories. Alrighty. Okay, you're fine with that too, Tim. So we got two votes for Home Alone stories. Okay. Oh, hey, Zach D is here. Finally, we got more people. Like I said, Zach D. I've had a heck of a day dealing with this Wi-Fi. Tim can tell you. It started because Tim and I were actually talking on Messenger this morning, and the Wi-Fi just started going out on me, and it seemed like every couple of minutes I was running back and forth trying to reset the router and everything, and it would come back for a few minutes and then it would go right back out again. And it's been doing that all day, and just until probably about, I don't know, 20-30 minutes ago, my Wi-Fi has come back on, and it stayed on so far. So there was a point in time where I just I had made the decision to cancel this stream for tonight and just reschedule it for another day, another night. But I just decided, I just decided to still try it, and so far so good. So yeah. Anyway, Zach D, since you're here, yeah, that is lame. Uh, the first two story choices are four scary Home Alone stories or three scary Walmart stories. And so far, Tim and Jonathan have both chosen Home Alone stories. So if we get your vote, oh nice, you got a Dorito taco party pack. Nice, that sounds awesome. I had beef stroganoff for dinner tonight. It was good. Okay, Zach D says the Walmart one sounds interesting. Okay, so we got two for Home Alone and one for Walmart. So here's how we're going to do this. I will play the Home Alone one first, and then I will do the Walmart one, just to be fair. So without further ado, Here is 4 true, scary Home Alone stories. And you guys let me know if you can hear it or not. It always takes it a minute to come up for some reason. Come on now. It's coming up slowly but surely. It takes forever to load, and I don't know why. Come on. I, you know, I'm not a guy who gets frustrated easily, but this is pissing me off a little bit. All right, maybe it'll play now.
I live in Sydney, Australia. This happened when I was 15 at home alone. It was about 9 p.m., and I was just coming out of the bathroom when I heard my front gate swing open and my dog begin barking. Across the hall, I saw someone run past the porch window and into the backyard. I was able to vaguely make out what he looked like. He was hunched over, had sickly pale skin, was wearing all black, and had long, messy black hair partially covering his face. I went into the living room to see what was going on. My dog was still at the front door growling. Since I hadn't seen the guy return, this meant he was still somewhere in my backyard. I waited at the door for a while when another, more normal looking guy walked onto the porch and came right up to the security bars. I don't remember all the details, but our conversation went something along the lines of him saying, "Hey, have you seen my friend?" I replied, "Yeah, I think he's in my backyard." He replied saying, "Okay, because I've been following this random guy all over the place. I think he's on drugs and might be dangerous." It struck me as weird though. What did he mean by this random guy? He had just called him his friend. He quickly walked away, going off into the darkness towards my yard. I should also mention that there's a door around back, but that also has security bars in front of it, and the door was locked at the time. I waited at the front door for a bit, then sat back down. After about 2 minutes of waiting, the guy I spoke with walked back onto the porch and looked in through the security bars. He now had the pale, potentially drugged out guy with him, who was pacing back and forth in an agitated manner. I went to the door to see what he wanted. He said, "Hey, sorry man, I just found him. Look, he's really nervous. He'd like if you unlocked the door and came out here, just so he could see that you're harmless." I felt the pain in my chest. The creepy drugged out guy had stopped pacing now. He was standing unnaturally still, staring me dead in the eyes. was an uncomfortable silence. I didn't say anything, but stepped forward to push the French door shut, causing the second guy to lunge at me and shove his hand through the bars towards me. I jumped back and slammed the door shut with my foot, bolting it. I called my parents, and they called the police. The two men had gone. When the police arrived, they told me about a break-in that had occurred just down the street less than an hour ago. As far as I know, they never found the two guys. Looking back, it's likely that the first guy ran into the backyard to try to find a way in, and the second guy went to help him, which is why they were back there for so long. What disturbs me is the fact that they didn't want to just break in, nor did the fact that I was home deter them. They wanted to come outside to them, but it was a Thursday night. My mom was working a late shift at the hospital. My two brothers were away at college, so for the time being, I had the house to myself. I had a couple friends over. We watched a baseball game, had a few beers, and they left through the back door. I went upstairs to the kitchen to put the remainder of the beers in the fridge and get ready for bed. I went to bed shortly after, and after a while of laying down trying to actually fall asleep, I heard light footsteps coming up the stairs outside my room. My mom was home. I heard her cough. She passed my bedroom door and entered the bathroom. Then she went back downstairs to the kitchen and started making a lot of racket with the cabinets and dishes and whatnot. I was way too lazy to get out of bed to go down there and ask her to keep it down, so I just texted her instead to stop making so much noise. I put my phone back on my desk and flipped on my side to try to get comfortable. Then I heard footsteps coming back upstairs. Quickly, my bedroom door opened. My mom stepped into my room. The hallway light outside my room wasn't on, so I couldn't make eye contact with my mom. But when I looked up, I saw my mom's figure. She stood by the doorway, looking kind of slouched over. I told her to stop making so much damn noise in a rather annoyed tone. When she didn't respond, I sat up and said, "Mom?" A vibration on my desk let me know I got a text. And given that it was pretty late, I naturally checked my phone to see who it was. It was from my mom. She said, "I'm still at work." I dropped my phone onto my bed as I looked up at the doorway. That person standing at my doorway wasn't my mom. Even though I was panicking, I had to think on my feet. I said, "Mom, I need to get to sleep. Get out." I said this because I wanted to play dumb, act like I had no suspicion that someone had broken in. The person at my doorway didn't move, so I picked up my phone, texted my mom in a panic, saying there's someone in the house. I mistook them for her and to call the police right now. My mom replied back, "Okay," in a matter of seconds. Something then broke the silence in the room. The voice of a woman, crackly and rough. She started saying something. It sounded to me like she was saying, "Don't know where to go," over and over. Her voice started getting louder as I realized she was approaching my bed. I screamed, "Get back," as I fumbled for the lamp switch next to my bed. As the light turned on, I was faced with some old woman with white, wiry hair, with her wrinkled hands reached out at me, approaching my bed, repeating that phrase, "Don't know where to go." I screamed, "Get away from me," as it seemed as though she was about to attack me. I jumped off the bed and ran out of the room and held my door shut. Seconds later, I felt her trying to push the door open. I put all my weight up against it to keep it shut. She started screaming, "I need to get out," and started banging on the door. I held this position for the longest time, and she was relentless. My mom kept calling my phone, but I couldn't pick it up. It wasn't until the cops arrived and knocked on the front door that I let go of the bedroom door and ran to them. The old woman immediately came rushing after me, but as I opened the door and yelled at the cops to stop her, they immediately pinned her against the wall. She was in cuffs and was put in the police car. I told them everything that happened. I said based on how she was behaving and what I told them, she would need to be identified and evaluated to determine if she was mentally ill, and it later turned out she was, to no surprise. I found out later that night after the cops left that after my friends left through the back door, I forgot to lock it. That was how she managed to simply walk into my house. It's definitely scarred me mentally in the sense that anytime I hear something in my room while sleeping, I have to look up and make sure somebody isn't standing on the other side. Before moving off on my own to California, I lived basically in the middle of nowhere on my dad's ranch in Colorado. It was a beautiful, huge property. I just never loved living in a rural setting. I found it boring. Plus, as that old cartoon Courage the Cowardly Dog stated, creepy things happen in the middle of nowhere. There had been a number of people had trespassed on our property, which is why my dad owned 3 different guns. There was one time he had to chase 2 men off the property with his rifle. What I'm about to tell you happened a few years back. I think it was in the middle of June. I was home alone as my parents were on vacation together, and my little brother was out with friends or at his girlfriend's house for the night. I don't remember. It was a hot night for Colorado, so I had all the windows open. I used to go to sleep pretty late around that time, so I think it was around 1 in the morning. I was still in the living room watching TV when I noticed the motion-sensing patio light turn on outside. This light would only turn on due to very noticeable movement by a person. So immediately, I assumed it was my little brother returning home. To be safe, I got up and looked out the window. I didn't see anyone though. I took out my cell phone and called my brother real quick. He didn't pick up. So I went to sit back down. Then it started. The knocking at the front door. Our door had a peephole because obviously anyone coming to our house went out of their way to get there. So we'd need to know who was there before opening the door. When I went to go peek through the peephole, I didn't see anyone. So I'm immediately thinking ding dong ditch. Possibly some local punky kids, possibly my brother. I was hoping the second was the case. I shut the blinds now because I became paranoid I was being watched. I shot my brother a text saying if I find out it's you, I'm not letting you in. Moments later, there was a knock right behind my head. So loud I actually jumped off the couch. There was a knock at the living room window, followed by what I can best describe to be 2 voices. One a deep male voice, one a higher pitched female voice, saying, "We see you," simultaneously. Hard thing. I imagined it to be the most wishful thing I could think of, that it was my little brother and his girlfriend messing with me. In the moment it made sense, or maybe I just wanted it to make sense. The banging on the window didn't stop there, it kept going, but it moved to another window. This time the window in the dining room, where I didn't shut the blinds. From the angle I was standing at, I could see 2 figures at the window, but no chance could I see anything about their faces. I didn't look at them as I ran upstairs to my dad's room to get one of his guns from under his bed. He told me exactly where he kept it just in case of an emergency. I loaded the rifle and ran downstairs to the dining room window, but they weren't standing there anymore. With a loaded gun, I felt a lot more confident in opening that front door and going outside to confront the situation. When I stepped outside, I decided I'd do one full quick lap around the house and check on the cattle. I was no marksman, but I had the protective instincts for the property, and I was ready to use the gun if I needed to. The whole property seemed clear, and the cattle were fine, so I went back inside, checked every door, and went to bed upstairs. For half an hour, peace and quiet, until I heard a disturbing sound come from downstairs and outside. Someone was frantically pounding at the front door downstairs, accompanied with a man shouting at the top of his lungs, not shouting words or anything, just screaming. I grabbed the rifle next to my bed, ran to the living room window, pushed it open, and fired a round outside into the dark night. The screaming and pounding stopped, and I heard 2 sets of footsteps quickly stomp off the wooden porch. And then there was nothing but the sound of the night crickets. The rest of the night, nothing happened. Actually, nothing ever happened again until I moved out. But it was not my brother and his girlfriend. I found out the next day. My dad was proud of me when he heard I protected the property. I'm just grateful he has those guns, and I only agreed with his owning them even more after that. I was home alone one night in the spring. I was on a FaceTime call with my friend, at one point pacing back and forth in my room. When I passed the window and looked outside at one point, I saw someone outside on the street, just standing there, facing my house, facing my window. I looked a little more carefully and determined he was looking up right at my window. I told my friend Jordan on the FaceTime call and tried to show her. She said she couldn't see him but to call my mom and dad. So I hung up with Jordan and continued to look out at the man for a few more seconds. Then I walked away from the window to my bed and called my mom. I had woken her up because it was like midnight. In short, she told me to just turn off my lights and shut the blind and he would go away. So that's what I did. But after a few minutes of dying in curiosity, I had to get up, lift the blinds, and peep outside. The man was now on the sidewalk, closer to my house, still looking up at my window. Now I called the police. The operator asked me if the man was holding any weapons. I said not that I can tell. The operator then told me to ignore it, and if he didn't leave within 10 minutes, or if he stepped onto my property, to call the police again. She also told me that a patrol car would pass by my house just to scare off the man should he still be out there. So I hung up the phone and crawled into my bed. I called my friend Jordan back, and we talked on FaceTime while I was in my bed for about 5 minutes. She told me it was time to go check the window again. So I did. And this time, the man was gone. I stood by the window with the blinds now up, waiting for the police car to pass my house. It took about 5 to 10 minutes of standing there on FaceTime with Jordan before I saw a police patrol car come down the block, stop briefly in front of my house, a little spotlight on the side of the car being moved around my property and a few neighboring properties. The cop car drove away soon after, and that was that. That told me the man was gone, not on my property. So after finishing my FaceTime call with Jordan, we hung up and I went to bed. After laying in my bed for a solid 20 minutes, I heard a creaking or a cracking-like sound coming from outside. I got out of bed and looked out the window, but no one was there. So again, I went back to bed. A few more minutes went by, and there was another cracking sound coming from outside, this time louder. I looked over to the window from my bed and was in total shock when I saw a figure at my window. I have an upstairs bedroom, and suddenly the cracking noises made sense. He had been climbing up the side of my house. I went to the other window and screamed help over and over, hoping my neighbors would hear. I also got on the phone with 911 again and told them to send another car right away. The man at my window attempted to squeeze through the opening in the window, but seemingly gave up when he noticed one of my neighbors outside yelling something. The next time I looked at the window, he was gone, and according to my elderly neighbor who came to my aid, the man jumped down and ran away down the street. Cops came once again. This time I spoke to them and gave them all the info they needed. They said they'd be patrolling the immediate area all night and went on their way. I didn't get any sleep that night, but I think that man was scared off for good.
All right. That was the first one. Uh, I think my favorite one out of those four was the second one about the guy thinking that it was his mom making a lot of noise, but it turns out it was another person who had broke into the house. So, yeah. Yeah, I can hang on for a second. So, how did you guys like that compilation? I thought that was pretty good. Huh. Yeah, they are creepy, Jonathan. Yeah, I enjoyed them too. I plan on doing a few more compilations, and then we'll call it a night. Like I said, next. I'm going to do those three scary Walmart stories, and then after that, I'll pick another compilation from Mister Nightmare at random, and then I'll probably call it a night after that. Yeah. So Tim, like I just said, the next thing that I'm going to do is the three Walmart horror stories compilation. Then I'm going to pick one more compilation from Mister Nightmare, and then I'm going to call it a night after that. I am starting to get a little tired, and you know, and whatnot. But what was the third thing? Oh, just that I'm gonna do one more. I'm gonna do the Walmart compilation. Then I'm gonna do one more compilation, and then I'm gonna end on that. So yeah. Okay, this is true. Three true scary Walmart horror stories. And as always, it's going to take 25 minutes to load.
My name is Samantha. I'm 20 years old and I work at a Walmart by a small town called Jackson in Alabama. Since I don't go to school full time, my boss would oftentimes put me on an overnight shift, back when the store was open 24 hours.
I apologize. This happens every time. I'll start it over. I will start it over so you guys don't miss anything. If I can get this stupid thing to work.
My name is Samantha. I'm 20 years old and I work at a Walmart by a small town called Jackson in Alabama. Since I don't go to school full time, My boss would oftentimes put me on an overnight shift, back when the store was open 24 hours a day. Given that it was a super center, there would still be a number of employees working. My shift this one particular night was 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. I was one of only a couple employees doing stock work. There was one or two employees at registers up front. Given that our store sits in the countryside of Alabama, we didn't really get much business at these insane hours of the night. However, it was a prime restocking period. I didn't personally know the other employees working that night, but it's not like we'd run into each other in the giant store anyway. I started my night folding pants in the men's department and generally tidying up. I kept headphones in at night because usually there would be no one to tell me to take them out. The customer came to the jeans section, and at that time it was around 11:30 p.m., so it wasn't really that weird. People would still come in and close shop till usually around midnight. The customer came up to me and asked me if we had any more of the specific pants he found in a different waist size. I apologized and told him only whatever was on the rack. He thanked me and walked away. I made accidental eye contact with him as soon as he stood by the rack putting the jeans back. It was kind of awkward. He walked away and I continued with my work. Some time passed and the store started to look like a ghost town. No one could be seen as far as the eye could see. I think it was like 1 a.m. I had made my way over to the appliances section. I was doing a lot of back and forth work with boxes from the back section where we kept all the items that were yet to go out. I brought a wagon full of boxes to one of the aisles and started stocking the shelves. Because the shelves were empty though, I was able to see someone through the next aisle over, and they were watching me. Well, only up until he noticed me notice him. Then he looked away, but his eyes looked really familiar. I stepped closer to get a better view, and I realized it was the same customer from like 2 hours earlier. How in the world would be in the store? Without making it obvious, I took the wagon with me and passed the next aisle over just to get a look and see if the man had any items in his hands. His hands were completely empty. No way could he be shopping for 2 hours and not pick up a single thing. Something wasn't right. I quickly finished up restocking the shelf with coffee machines and other appliances, then brought the empty wagon to the back area. I chilled out in there for a while because, quite frankly, I felt like that guy might have been following or watching me longer than I realized. I played on my phone for a little while in the employee lounge. Then when I figured it was time to get back to work, I decided I would do grocery work instead, just to be in a different part of the store. I went into the dairy cooler and filled a bunch of crates with dairy products like milk and yogurts. This took a lot of time to do because I had to check the dates on the products and such. Over the loud sound of the giant refrigerators keeping the cooler cold, I heard the door to the dairy cooler burst open. There was conveniently a gap in the boxes sitting on one of the pallets that allowed me to peek through it to the door of the cooler. And I shit you not, it was that same customer. I ran to cover under one of the shelves and pushed a big box full of eggs in front of me. I didn't have to worry about making noise because the refrigerators were so loud. For anyone wondering why I decided to hide, well, I already assumed this guy was hanging around the store watching me. Seeing him in the employees only section, never mind that, coming into the dairy cooler, seemingly something bad was definitely about to go down. I hid behind that box with my head down for the longest time, expecting to hear the doors to the cooler open and close eventually. After a while of hiding and not looking, I assumed maybe he left after looking for me. I lifted my head from my arms for the first time and looked up in front of the box and screamed. He was right there, smiling at me, standing over the box. But his smile vanished as soon as I started to scream. He tried putting his hand on my lips to muffle my scream, but I didn't allow that to go any further. I pushed the box of eggs over right into him, and the eggs falling to the floor made him step back, looking down at his shoes. I ran right past him, but he didn't grab me, so I continued to run until I found another stock worker and told him to help me. The employee's name was Bob, I remember from his name tag. Suddenly, the man from the dairy cooler came up to the two of us and apologized, explaining that he was from corporate and was coming to make sure everything was running smoothly. He said he didn't mean to scare me and was simply checking up on me in the dairy cooler to make sure I wasn't slacking off. This Bob guy seemed to believe it all, but then again, he didn't seem very smart at all. I asked the man why he put his hand on my mouth, and he said he was trying to avoid making a scene. Then, shockingly, he gave me the order to finish up the appliance section, and he disappeared. As he was speed walking away down the aisle, I called out, "What's your name?" And he called back, "Tom." And just like that, he was gone. The next day, I called one of the managers and asked if there was supposed to be a visit from corporate the night before, and if a creepy man named Tom sounded familiar. My manager, Margaret, said it sounded like complete bullshit. There was no record of anyone from corporate named Tom who was supposed to come visit, nor would anyone from corporate ever be in the store at 2 a.m. They then went ahead and checked the camera footage, and a police report was filed when they realized this was a random man. And the cameras proved this man had been stalking me between the aisles for the better part of the first few hours of my shift. I told Margaret I couldn't do night shifts anymore after that, and she understood. I still work there, but more so as a day stock person or a cashier. What's one place you can go to and find the weirdest, freakiest creatures in our society? I swear I've never been to a single Walmart where I didn't see at least one eye-catchingly strange human being. Strange does not even cut it for what I'm about to tell you. It was the Thursday before Black Friday. My Walmart was open extra late. I was in there around 11 o'clock looking for a new laptop. And by chance, I picked up off the shelf the last one that was being promoted for a really good Black Friday deal. As I grabbed it though, some big, revolting, dirty-looking guy comes up to me and insists he needs a laptop very badly. I nervously said, "Sorry, it's the last one." And he got angry at me and started making a bit of a scene. The man clearly wasn't normal, and my heart started racing simply because I don't get put on guard in these kinds of situations a lot. As others looked on at the commotion this big guy was making, I walked away with the laptop box quickly and went straight to a line. He kept yelling at me as I walked away. It was unbelievable. Some other customers on the line even tried to laugh with me and make me feel better, saying the guy was a nut. So I get home. My family's all asleep already. I go outside to sit in the yard by the pool and set up my new laptop. Then the light on the side of the house turned on. The one that turns on due to movement. I went to check the side of the house to make sure no one was there. Would that thing go off once in a while? Yeah, but there's a small patch of woods right next to the house, so animals would often run on the property, triggering it. Either way, I'm kind of a big pussy, so I went inside, locked the door, and finished setting up my laptop in the living room. The car alarm suddenly started going off outside. I recognized it to be my Cadillac. I looked out the window to confirm this. I ran to get my keys upstairs, then tried pressing the panic button to turn off the alarm. It didn't work from the inside, so I stepped out to the porch and clicked it off. But then I noticed a car parked in front of our house that wasn't there earlier when I got home. And any cars parked in the street on our block was suspicious enough. We live in a closed-off community, and everyone has huge driveways. I stepped down from the stoop and realized there was someone sitting in that car. I went back inside and locked the door. I went to my mom's room and told her I think someone outside means us harm. My mom and dad have a complicated situation, so my dad doesn't always stay with us. It would have been a different story having my dad there to tell about this. My mom came downstairs with me, noticeably worried based on what I told her. My mom took a look through the peephole in the front door, then gasped and put her hands over her mouth. I looked through it as well and felt ready to throw up when I saw a huge man standing on the other side of the door on our stoop. I whispered to my mom, I think that man followed me from Walmart. Suddenly the doorknob started to turn as the man tried opening the door. When it didn't work, he started pounding on the door. That's when my mom let out a gasp and cry. My younger sister came out from her room, who started to panic when becoming wise to the situation. The pounding stopped, and there was a silence for a while, other than my mom's voice on the phone with the police. A few minutes went by. My mom's still on the line with 911 with police en route, and there was a loud bang and crash downstairs in the den. A window was shattered. My mom and sister both screamed and cried. I told them to run upstairs while I locked the door to the den. I waited down there, expecting an attempt at the door or a bang. Nothing. Surprisingly, I heard a police car briefly wail its siren outside my house. It was the quickest response time I'd ever heard of. I ran outside to lead them to the den where the broken glass was. There they found the huge, dirty, crazy-looking man hiding behind one of our couches. He was arrested at once, and we pressed charges. All the while, he was screaming profanities and threats at me, not helping his case. Both cops told me the guy seemed unstable and on some kind of drugs, but told us to get a good night's rest because he wouldn't be bothering us again. So while it may be fun to people watch at Walmart and laugh at some of the goofy things you see, realize you may also find some of the more dangerous people in our society in your local Walmart. Working the night shift at Walmart as a night stock person on the weekends was my second job when I was finishing up college. I needed to pay off my loan, so I had to make money however possible. I didn't deal with customers or anything. I would just sign for night deliveries, do warehouse work, and stock shelves in the store during after hours. The typical shift would usually be either 11 to 7 or 12 to 7. On July 9th, 2015, a Thursday night, I still have it locked into my brain. I was midway through my shift in the electronics department when I saw in the corner of my eye someone walk past the aisle I was working in. This wouldn't usually catch my attention if it weren't for the fact that there were only 2 other workers in the building with me that night, Alvin and Baco. They were both wearing the same staff shirts I was wearing. I would know because we all clocked in at the same time. The person I saw in the corner of my eye was wearing all black, so I naturally walked to the end of the aisle and did a little peep around the shelf. No one was there. I yelled both Alvin and Baco's names, so when they didn't answer, it made it even stranger. But regardless, I went back to work. I was holding in a pee for a while, and I told myself I'd go when I finished work in that aisle. Seconds later, there was a huge crash a few aisles down. It actually startled me. I ran over to see what it was, and the bicycle was somehow knocked off its hook. The hook was still fine and in place. It seemed like someone would have had to put effort into knocking this down. I hung it back up and started walking around the aisle, suspicious as hell. I got to the last aisle towards the back of the store, which was the paper and cleaning aisle. Then there was this freaky-ass sound that I could best describe as a laugh. It sounded like it came from literally the next aisle over. So once again, I did a short run back to that aisle and felt my heart drop when I saw a man dressed in all black, waiting by the end of the aisle with his back facing me, but his head turned so that all I saw was only half his face. Then he suddenly ran, not towards me, but down some other aisle. I heard his footsteps running around. I was faced with a choice of chasing after him or going to find my 2 coworkers, and I chose the latter. All the while, I heard these freakish laughing sounds and footsteps that I honestly felt like were circling me. I found Alvin in the women's department and told him to be on the lookout for someone who wasn't meant to be in the building dressed in all black. We didn't have walkie-talkies, so I asked him to tell Baco if he ran into him. I excused myself because I couldn't hold it any longer. I had to go to the bathroom. I ran to the employees-only bathroom, which was in the warehouse section. I put a nest of toilet paper on the seat in one of the stalls and sat down. And yes, I'm the kind of person to sit when I pee. The door to the bathroom opened and closed. Naturally, with 3 to 4 people in the building, I said, "Who is that?" And with no answer, I assumed the worst. I heard that horrific laughing again, and someone stepped into view from between the crack in the door. Looking right in, they stepped closer until the crack was completely covered, and all I saw of their face was an eye. Then the whispering began. Unintelligible whispering. but the echo from the bathroom just made it more unsettling. I just remembered I had Alvin's phone number saved on my phone, so I got it out and called him at once. I was very loud with what I was saying, telling Alvin to get to the bathroom at once and help me. I stayed on the line with him and watched as the man on the other side of the stall laughed one more time, then ran out of the bathroom. I told Alvin to hurry, and 20 to 30 seconds later, Alvin entered the bathroom. He said he didn't see anyone on his way there. We didn't have any security guys working when the store was closed, so we couldn't even go look at the cameras. I stayed by Alvin the night, helping in whatever sections he was working in, because safety in numbers. I texted my boss that night, and when I woke up at 3 p.m. the next day, I read his response. He said all the camera screens returned static footage from the night before. Nobody went and turned them off as far as he knew. I got chills reading his texts. He believed my story and assumed it was related to the cameras, but with no video proof of the breaking and entering or trespassing, I don't think there was anything he could do. It was all above my pay grade, though. That was the only night shift I've ever had where something truly unexplainable happened.
And that was the Walmart horror stories. I'm going to do one more compilation and then I'm going to call it a night. I'm just going to choose one at random. This one looks pretty interesting. I know you guys are familiar with Zoom and all that. This one is going to be the last one. It's 3 nightmarish Zoom call horror stories. So I'll go ahead and get that one loaded up. And this will be the last one for the night.
It was sometime in April, peak corona time in my state. Quarantining and lockdown were still in effect. There was nothing to do on Friday and Saturday nights besides Zoom calls with your friends. It was like a week after I finally hopped on the wave and agreed to jump on a Zoom call with my 4 friends, Ashley, Haley, Sylvia, and Alexa. It was a Friday night. It was supposed to be our little Zoom drinking party. We were going to be playing drinking games and just staying up until the early hours of the morning. Ashley shared the link to join the Zoom call in our iMessage group chat. We joined one at a time. First Ashley, then me, then Haley and Sylvia. It seemed they were all on their laptops. I was the only one on my phone, so I switched to my laptop as well. It took a little while for Alexa to finally join, but when she joined, her screen was black. We all joked around, chanting Alexa's name and whatever, asking her what's up with her webcam. She started typing into the text chat of the Zoom call, saying she didn't know what was wrong with her webcam and microphone, that it said both were offline. BRB, I'm going to go try to figure this out. So we all went on to our drinking and just chatting on our video chat, while we figured it was doing whatever to try to fix her computer. But something randomly happened sometime into our call. Something completely unexpected that kind of scarred all of us. Alexa's cam suddenly started working, and her box went from black to showing an old creepy man doing something I really don't want to repeat. When he noticed the camera turned on, he jumped to close the laptop, and the screen went dark again. The 4 of us screamed and started freaking out. We tried calling Alexa, but now it seemed her phone was off. We didn't have her mom or sisters, so we all agreed to drive over to Alexa's place to see what was going on. Her mom answered the door in her robe, looking concerned. We asked her if Alexa was home. She said yes and called her down. Alexa never responded, though. Her mother said she had just gotten home an hour ago, but that Alexa's door was locked half an hour earlier. We all explained what happened on the Zoom call, and she freaked out and ran upstairs to bang on Alexa's door. That got no answer. When Officer Perry showed up, we told him everything. He called for backup and went upstairs to knock on the door and tried to reason with whoever could be in there. When there was no response, he began to kick the door down. When he finally broke through the door, there was no one on the bed. The laptop and phone were left on the bed, but no one was in the room. The window was wide open, enough for someone to crawl through and hop outside down to the awning roof below. We all found Alexa in the basement minutes later. She was hiding under a blanket in the corner of the room. She said when she was home alone, she saw some older man with a big knife sticking out of his pocket in the living room, so she snuck down to the basement and hid. She didn't know when it was safe to come out of hiding, as she couldn't hear her mother getting home. Police backup finally showed up, and the information of the break-in and the man was sent to the local news outlets to alert people to be on the lookout. It's crazy how that Zoom call might have saved Alexa and her mother's lives. A few weeks ago, my friends and I decided to hold a Zoom reunion, as we had not seen each other for quite some time, and all of us finally had the time to chat since there was a lockdown in our country. We're all college students, and most of us had lost contact with each other, so we decided to post on our social media that we would be holding a Zoom reunion, which was open to all the alumni of our old school. We got responses from many people, and we even accepted people we didn't know as long as they knew our mutual friends. We wanted it to be a big social event and didn't really care who joined. Finally, the day of the reunion arrived. I scheduled a meeting and posted it on my Instagram story because there were too many people to individually text, which I now realize was a big mistake because I had basically given everyone access to join the Zoom call. The Zoom meeting began normally, with all of us excited to meet our old friends. We made some new friends through our mutual friends, and we were having a grand time. Someone called Sat_An_20 unmuted their mic and started making groaning sounds. We had a friend named Anne, so we thought it was just her pranking us. We texted her to stop because it was getting annoying, but to our surprise she texted back apologizing because she hadn't attended the call due to prior engagements. We were surprised and asked this Anne person to open their video and show us their face or they would be removed from the meeting. They didn't show their face, so I removed them from the meeting. The Zoom call resumed, and we were all joking about the incident. Suddenly, my network strength became weak, and I had to leave the meeting. I joined back soon after, but Sat_An had somehow taken the opportunity and re-entered the meeting in the few seconds that we unlocked it. This time, they began to share their screen and displayed a video of a black tunnel on loop. We were terrified, and a lot of people were leaving the meeting because of it, but my friends and I were determined to find the person who was destroying our reunion. We constantly tried to remove them from the meeting, but the second my friend's network connection weakened, somehow the Sat_An_20 person became the host. There was nothing we could do now. The account was still playing the video on loop and chanting something in a strange language. We could have left the meeting, but really wanted to know who was disrupting it. Suddenly the video stopped, and Sat_An_20 started talking in a distorted voice about how my brother Rav had completed the ritual and attained salvation. Could take their help and do the same too. Here's the thing. I had a twin brother who died before birth. My parents had wanted to name him Rav. They told me when I was very young about his prenatal death and begged me to never talk about him. Only my grandparents and parents knew about him, as the subject was too painful to disclose to others. I had always wanted a twin, blaming myself for his death. I never told anyone about him. Soon after, we had moved to a new city. I was certain that the only people who knew about my brother in the city were my parents. I had not told even my best friends about him. I had no idea how this Sat_An_20 person knew about him. They truly had no way of knowing that I knew about him. with shaking hands, and now without a doubt convinced that this was a supernatural occurrence, I wordlessly exited the meeting. I do not know what happened afterwards. I didn't respond to my friend's texts and have since not talked to them. To this day, I know this is an experience I will not soon forget. In April of this year, my school had made a virtual classroom thing where we would do all of our assignments online on websites like Google Classroom and whatnot. They also told us about a new tool called Zoom, where students and teachers can all have a virtual meeting to talk about schoolwork and stuff. Well, one day in May, after I finished my assignments, my dad went out on a night shift at his job. So it was only my mom and I, and my mom was asleep. I called my friends, and we all agreed to try a Zoom call out with each other to catch up on how everyone has been, and it also eventually ended with us playing some console games like Call of Duty. At one point, around 10 p.m., we were playing Modern Warfare, and all of a sudden, one of my friends, who I'll call Jack for privacy reasons, suddenly told me that he saw a very sudden blurred movement behind me in my room. But he wasn't sure because my lights were off, and the only light was from the TV in my room. I have a somewhat small room with only my bed, a drawer next to my bed, a closet in the left corner of the room, and my TV in the front. That's when I noticed that my pillow was on the floor. I went over to pick it up, and I just dismissed it, thinking it accidentally fell or something. So I just went back to play with my friends. About 10 minutes passed by, and Jack once again says he swears he sees movement behind me in my room. Turned on the plates that it couldn't possibly fall without someone or something moving it. I bend down slowly to pick it up, and then I hear Jack scream. I put the pillow on the bed and rush over to my laptop sitting on my chair to ask him what was wrong. All he said was to look under my bed, and I saw it. I saw two glowing eyes which were lit up by the TV screen. Once the person realized that I saw them, they immediately jumped out and tried to grab me. I instinctively swung my arm at their head, and I hit him right nose. He looked to be at least 45 and had long, dry, straight hair that looked like it hadn't been cut or washed in at least a year. He had a scratchy-looking beard and was a very skinny but tall guy. He looked to be about 6'3". He fell onto my bed, and I could see his nose was bleeding, so I took my chance and ran to my mom's room and locked the door. I could hear his footsteps stomping through the house coming towards the room, so I immediately told my mom to call the police despite her groggily shouting at me to tell her what was happening. She called the cops, and by then I could hear his footsteps as he was going from room to room to find where I went. When he came to the room we were in, he tried the handle, and when he saw it was locked, he knew we were in the room. But he didn't bang on the door like I thought he would. Instead, I heard a small chuckle, and then I looked under the little crack under the door, and I could see his feet standing there. As soon as I looked under, he looked through the crack as well, and I could see his bloodshot eye. I also saw a couple drops of blood on the floor, and then on the other side of the door, I heard "You'll pay for that" in a psychotic, high-pitched, childish voice. When I backed away, he screamed like a madman and started banging on the door over and over. I started covering my ears, trying to shut the sound out, and I could see my mom crying. Just then, we hear the sirens outside, but the man doesn't stop banging and shouting. The police knock on the door, and when they hear the man, they immediately knock the door down and come in, literally like something from a movie. I heard the man stop, and I thought the police already got him. When I opened the door, I saw the man facing the two officers, looking like he was going to attack them. When he stepped towards them, one of them shot a taser at him, and he immediately fell and started shaking violently. They cuffed him and took him out to the car, and a third officer came to question me and my mom. I told him the whole story, and then the three officers started searching for the place of breaking and entering. And it turned out that he had broken in through the window in my dad's office room. They found a small axe and drill under my bed in my room. We later found out this man wasn't documented, and no one knew who he was. He didn't appear to have any family. He was sent to a mental institution. That's not the worst part. The police later tried to find out where the man originally lived, and all the man told them was that he lived in the woods near my home. The police went searching for his home for any evidence. They found a small secluded area in the woods with a small wooden shack. When they went in, they told us that they found multiple weapons, bags of old food, and worst of all, 2 pictures of me, one of me asleep, which was taken from inside the house outside my bedroom door, and one of me eating dinner from outside the window. I hope nothing like this ever happens to anyone, and I hope no one else has to add another bad memory to the long list from this terrible year.
That was the last one for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I certainly did. I know this is probably one of my shorter streams. Uh, I'm glad that the Wi-Fi was able to stay on for this. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I appreciate you guys for sticking with me this long. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream now, just because I'm starting to get a little tired. I may just find myself, or get something to eat and then just lay down now. But yeah, once again, I hope you guys had fun. I hope you guys got scared a little bit. I certainly did. Quite a few of those kind of sent chills down my spine a little bit. But yeah, I hope you guys had fun. So yeah, there will be no stream tomorrow because it's college football Saturday. And I'll be watching college football. So yeah, no stream tomorrow. I don't know if I'll do one Sunday, but we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys have a good rest of your night, and I will see you guys next time. So take care.